So today we've got a very special guest, Fahim. He's the body hacking health coach from Bali. He's actually in Cape Town right now. That's where we're shooting this. And yeah, it's actually very cool what he does. He helps entrepreneurs optimize their health, but he does it in a very specific way, optimizing it with doctors through blood panels, nootropics, peptides, and so much more. We're going to get into that on this episode. So, Ru, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
It's going to be a good episode, bro. I'm super excited for this.
So let's just hop in straight with the question. So you mentioned body hacking, like Quentin just mentioned, quite a lot. And how would you define body hacking and what it is that you do with your clients?
It's a good question. So think about biohacking, but add the body onto it, because we do a lot of physical rehabilitation as well. And the body also has more to it than just biology. In my opinion, the body consists of like the psychological, the physiological, and the physical. So the reason I pushed away from biohacking, it kind of has this, nuance of being like, we gotta do red light therapy, we gotta do like the cutting edge technologies, and you're missing fundamental things that you also need to consider when you're trying to map out somebody's well-being. So we work with clients with their psychotherapy. We work with clients to understand their physical constraints on their body, their mobility, the pain that they feel, because it all works in a circular fashion. Like one affects the other, which affects the other, which feeds back into it. So if you don't cover all bases, you could end up into this negative feedback loop. And we want to reverse that. We want a positive feedback loop. We want one to make the other better and that one to positively influence and just keep going down that upward trajectory.
Yeah. And you mostly work with entrepreneurs, correct?
Yeah, I guess I really vibe with their outlook on life.
Yeah.
I like people that are driven, that are dedicated. I mean, right now it just seems like the most feasible clientele for the services. I want to help and heal everyone eventually, right? I don't want to be constricted. My mission is actually to re-educate people on how to feel better at a younger age. Especially because I struggled so much developing, growing up, handling all the issues that I was given, the responsibilities of it, the problems with it. And if I could guide people, then you could really develop a better world, in my opinion. But that's a long-term mission. I will get there one day. Right now, entrepreneurs are just so bread and butter with what my skill set has created. I'm an entrepreneur myself. So I totally get the people, what they're looking for, what they want, the performance aspect of it. Also just mapping out your own biology, your own self, because entrepreneurs, eventually you have to systemize your process. You have to understand where the bottlenecks are, where the key performance indicators, what you should be tracking, where you have opportunity to grow. And when you can kind of merge those two things, you have this beautiful synergy, synchronicity, and emergence of a better product, a better business, a better human. So.
Yeah, we both obviously also entrepreneurs, and most of the people watching this is also entrepreneurs. And I think the main thing that we get when we, because we're also very big on the house, we do health, wealth, and then the love, happiness thing of Ty Lopez, but essentially the health and wealth. And a big thing that we realize is a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be should I really value my health in the beginning? That's time I can use on sales calls or whatever, you know what I mean? Why would you say entrepreneurs should optimize their health and focus on that?
So I think that you're looking, if somebody is willing to sacrifice health, I get it. You want to grind, you want to do that, but honestly, actually, I don't get it anymore. I think that's the old model.
Okay.
By the way, nobody, if you're smart, I know a lot of these, maybe your community, yourselves even, it's not about that anymore. It's not about sacrificing your health. It's building out the systems by delegating out. It's building white label products. It's using AI as part of your systems. You could actually outsource it. But let's say you are in the position that you have to work a lot. I respect that. But the problem is the long-term outcomes of you doing that is only going to detriment your growth. And a lot of the people I'm currently working with, they have symptoms at a young age, right? And it's just going to get worse and worse, right? And recovery is a lot harder. It's a lot more difficult than preventing. And there's simple techniques that people could integrate, even if you're starting up. You don't have to think about peptides. You don't have to think about $1,000 gadgets. You could just do these holistic practices, and you'll actually optimize your performance. right? It's not just like it will move you in the right direction in every way if your health is working for you and not against you.
And what would you say to some of these entrepreneurs? What are some like simple tactics they can start to implement? Obviously, when I started my agency, I kind of slacked on my sleep a little bit just because of the workload. But what are some like foundational things that they can still keep doing that will get like 80% of the benefits?
The 80-20 of health.
Essentially.
I think that most entrepreneurs, the thing they run into is nervous system dysregulation. And that just like bleeds into every other area of their life, whether that's energy dysfunction, sleep disruption, gut microbiome, gut imbalances. And what nervous system regulation is being able to switch yourself on and off during periods of the day. Like you want to be alert during your work hours, but if you get over alert or hyperstimulated, your work performance will actually decrease. And especially at different times of the day, if you don't learn to turn off before going to sleep, for example, to like, destimulate yourself or calm yourself down, you're never gonna get that restful sleep, right? The mind is the body is the mind. If you can regulate the mind, the body works with you a lot better. And that's like a very low cost effective way. Like actually there's not a lot of great resources on it, to be honest. Like so I had some experience with you, Andrew, when we did the breath mechanics, right? If I could just teach everyone that, like how much more calm and relaxed would they feel in their process? And how much would that then influence how well their gut digests, how well they recover from muscle strain, how well that their brain function continues to operate? Because all of these have physiological implications. Too much stress, cortisol goes high, you can be catabolic, your gut won't heal, your tissues won't heal, you won't grow muscle, you won't go to sleep. Like all of it will bleed into each other almost.
So let's look at that at two different, because you're talking about basically switching on when you should be switched on, but essentially not too stimulated, and being switched off when you need to be switched off, and not being obviously stimulated in that sort of time frame. Let's take the first part. It's like overstimulating or almost overstimulated. Example of that being too much caffeine, for example. What would be some examples of that, and how can we avoid being overstimulated?
I mean, everyone's an individual, so there's no blanket statements of what is going to influence every person. But yes, caffeine, it's a stimulator. Blue light exposure, it's a stimulator. Long periods of continued focus is a stimulator, right? That's why you want to have those 20-minute or 45-minute breaks.
Like the Pomodoro technique.
I like that.
Exactly, I love that.
Right? What is a stimulator? I know people tend to use nicotine. Hopefully they don't. Like I use snus. That's a different kind of approach. Even that I'm very cautious with. But yeah, stimulation, blue light exposure. Did I say that? Screen time. Just like constantly being bombarded by bright lights, especially in the evening. That's sending the signal to turn on. If I could say one more thing, overstimulation isn't just a product of your current state. It's also the residuals from your past state. So if you're carrying with you any unresolved, let's say traumas or senses of personal well-being or safety, that's also running and taking CPU from you in the back of your mind, right? So I think everyone deserves the chance to cleanse their mind of this stress. And I encourage people to do it earlier. I wish I did it when I was like 19 and 21.
So what is like an example of your evening routine? Because when I finish work at, let's say, 7 p.m., turn off the laptop, like my mind is still running. Like I wrote a tweet yesterday that said, I was like mid-conversation and I was thinking about a new email strategy I'm going to implement. So how do you actually like turn that off? Because I really think that's a competitive advantage, especially nowadays, to turn off and come up with these creative ideas. Because as you said, it's more smart work. So what's like an example of a good evening routine to switch off?
As like a cost entry, easy, accessible one?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the
things. The other one as
Yeah,
well,
we can do
the
both.
expensive one.
Like a fool's protocol, and then maybe like just like
80-20 one.
Yeah. One thing I would just say is like 7 p.m. is like cutting the corner for me a little bit. It depends on when you're going to sleep, right? You want 3 to 4 hours of that window between, especially if you could stack your last meal at the end of your workday. It's a great time to get parasympathetic and just relax after that. But yeah, there's so many different modalities. Just going out in nature, having a walk, getting into that like very steady state aerobic system, metabolism, that is going to cue parasympathetic tone. Doing things like soft myofascial rolling, so getting a lacrosse ball, not a lacrosse ball, that might be too intense, but a soft roller, spending some time going through that is great.
Like stretching, stuff like that.
I hate stretching, so I have like, I hate stretching for specific reasons that it's used for. We'll talk about that in a bit. But stretching, yes, even stretching is like a mind-body connection. It's bringing your focus within or on a singular task, which usually is a parasympathetic response. Actually, speaking of that, like turning off the mind is also bringing safety into the individual, right? And creating clarity for the future, right? So a lot of these anxious thoughts are a lack of preparation for the future. So I know like journaling and setting your calendar and setting your expectations for the next day is almost thought of as an administrative function, but it should also be thought of as a psychological function, right? It's like now all of a sudden you do that, you can have more clearance and space for other thoughts to either enter or leave at will. It's not the fact that you can't continue having these creative thoughts, but you just remove some of that burden that you're carrying with you, right? Breath work is another huge one. Like if doing it properly, like a proper diaphragmatic breath that uses how the ribcage is supposed to move and done with some like, nuances that are known to stimulate vagus nerve or the phrenic nerve. These are the parasympathetic activators. Should I explain parasympathetic?
You can, yeah.
So your nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord and all the nerves that kind of, spread out from it, that innervate your organs, your muscles, tissues, pretty much every cell in your body in one way or fashion. They have two different operational modes. One is the sympathetic nervous system drive. The other one is parasympathetic nervous system drive. Now, if you've heard of the colloquialisms, like one is fight or flight, or freeze sometimes, but it's usually fight or flight. Freeze is just momentary. And the other one is usually rest, digest, sex, and whatever else recovery modality is.
So if you enjoy this conversation and you relate with the health and wealth aspect, and both of these are very important when it comes to scaling a business or just as an entrepreneur in general, top link in the description if you want a more personalized approach, to scaling a business or in the health aspect as well. And also in the description is access to our free community where we've got 20 hours of content that you can just consume.
100%. If you enjoy this conversation, share it to a friend. Maybe think about subscribing, put the notifications on. It helps the channel a lot. And by doing so, we can get some more interesting guests like this. So let's get back to the video.
So like some people will say that you should only really be sympathetic in our modern days for the period of time you're training. Everything outside of that should be parasympathetic. That's gonna, when you think about parasympathetic, you're thinking about recovery, about healing, about being able to process both food, information, anything that is a signal into your body in a much more relaxed state. So circling back to that, the breath work is a very good way to get parasympathetic as long as you're doing it properly. And I think, honestly, I've probably seen over 500 people at this point. Not a single one of them breathes properly.
Wow.
Maybe more.
So you listening to this probably don't breathe properly.
Yeah.
So breathwork is a big thing.
It's not just breathwork is like kind of connected to like Wim Hof breathing and the what's it called, the psychotropic versions. I forgot the exact term, but it's like so it's not breathwork, it's just breathing. It's just learning how to breathe properly, which is like learning how to move your ribcage properly, which is then having multiple effects, like biochemical effects, neuromuscular effects, musculoskeletal effects. All of these three then go and feed back into the positive reinforcing loop of how you should feel calm. I could probably show you guys.
I was about to say, give us a demonstration, please, bro.
I want you guys to experience.
Yeah? Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
And after that, we can talk about, if it's effective to work while being in the parasympathetic.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
we can talk about that after.
But it's not that you want to it's always a balance. Don't get it twisted. It's not like one system is operating. Actually, at any point in our body, there's different areas that are parasympathetic and different areas that are going to be sympathetic. Like you don't want dominance.
A balance.
you don't want over dominance at at times where you don't want over dominance, right? So when I say that different organs and different biological sequences, they all have different rhythms. It's when the rhythm of that nervous system state, of the hormonal communication, of like the neurotransmitter transduction, when that gets imbalanced, that's when dysfunction gets created. Okay.
Let's do a breath. I'm excited.
So when we breathe, I'll try to keep it like within. It's gonna take 5 to 10 minutes. Is
That's
that okay?
perfect. That's
We'll try to keep it shorter.
Yeah, we did a live hypnosis with Ibrahim as well, so this is cool. Yeah.
Okay, so to make it fun, just like if both of you can just say how you feel right now.
Okay.
And then we're gonna test it afterwards and see how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So
when it comes to like what exactly, like the body, mind, or
kind of everything.
Okay.
And the way you might feel right now is perfectly normal and normalized too. Yeah. But I'm just going to see if I could actually shift it and offer you a different.
I mean, I'm feeling slightly nervous right now. Slightly nervous, and definitely not up like high energy. I would say I'm low to not low, like medium to lowish.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah, but I feel I'm sort of focused as well.
Okay.
Which is weird. I'm usually when I'm tired, not focused. But
yeah, I would say I'm pretty calm. I can feel a bit of shallow breath. It's not like completely full. Other than that, pretty shallow.
Shallow breath's a good one. I also feel the same. Yeah, I think that plays with the nervousness.
Yeah, no problem.
Shallow breaths are one of those stimulators of how your ribcage cannot open well. Therefore, the way you bring in oxygen, the way you open up the neuromuscular system, is signaling to your brain a state of stress.
Wow.
So through this process, it won't be perfect. There's so many different tools I have to help somebody expand their ribcage. But through this process, hopefully you guys both see and feel the difference. So the first thing I'm going to do is, being in this position is going to constrict the way your ribcage is going to open. So what I want you guys to do is just wrap your legs around.
Okay.
And then
different type of podcast, this one.
Yeah. I'll just shift a little bit here. I don't need to do so much, but just being in this position, and then let your body
like man-spreading.
For sure. But
I can almost feel it's already opened up a lot, it's completely different.
Yeah, and so take a breath right now.
But you also don't want to be that guy sitting and then you go like.
I mean, maybe you want to be that guy. Maybe.
Can I swear on here?
Okay.
Can I swear on here?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
You don't give a fuck?
I am 100% that guy. Fuck you if you tell me how to live my life, because I know what's good for me, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways, we're in this position. What I want you guys to do is just learn how there's 3 parts of the breath that I want you guys to become aware of. When you put your hands on either side here, that is your bucket handle. So what I want you to feel, if I pinch it here, and as I'm breathing, I'm going to push air into that space, and my fingers should move apart, right? So in this space, and when I breathe, it's gonna broaden, okay? So that's the first stage. That's the lowest part of your lung system. Do not breathe through your stomach, by the way. That's a total lie. It's a total myth. You're not supposed to do that. So we breathe, we expand that area. Now, the visualization is your lungs, your ribcage is a vase, like a flower vase. You're pouring water into it. It's gonna fill up from the bottom and then move upwards, right? Because air is a fluid just like water, technically, right? So in this space, you're breathing.
Just under your ribs.
Yeah, just under the ribs, and the fingers are going to move apart, so whoever's listening can actually follow along this. And then what I want you to do is kind of have this pistol that's pointing at your nose. You don't have to do it, but look what happens, right? Is as I breathe, this pistol is going to go and turn downwards. It's going to point towards my chest.
Yeah,
so this is the expansion front to back that I want to create, right? So when I breathe here, it's only a 5 to 10 degree, and you can try it if you want. Feel free. It should be a 5 to 10 degree opening and closing, right? That's good. That's great. Let's see yours.
I can feel that.
And what we don't want to ever do is send the air up to our traps to get there's a reason for it, but we don't want to use our shoulders to elevate our ribcage to expand air. The last part I want you to feel is that as this starts moving outwards, at the very end of the breath, you're going to feel a slight stretch through your back. And this makes sure that we are sending air to the back. So you could actually think about it going to the back. Okay, so now we're going to go through the breathing meditation.
Okay.
Okay. So what I want you to do, this is like Huberman parasympathetic sigh. It was there like 40, 60 years ago. It's not anything new, but we're going to do a parasympathetic sigh, and then we're going to do something that is a little bit quirky. So you think this is weird? Imagine doing this and then humming in public. I do this. It works like magic, right?
So if it works, it works, bro.
Absolutely. So the cool thing is, like, you know, in meditation when they go, oh,
yeah.
Now, if you actually think about what it's doing scientifically for you, it's actually stimulating different parts of your vagus nerve, which cause parasympathetic response, which causes a calming response. When you start the Om, you want to have a big resonating breath, which is going to go send the vocalization deep into your stomach almost, but not really. It's just the bottom of your ribcage. So when you start, you want to be like, oh. So it starts here, and then the finish of it is right? Because that's happening is now it's sending that all the way up to your throat. Now, what happens when you're that's stimulating the vagus nerve that's connected, that runs through either side of your carotid arteries, like the sides of your neck. So it's like, now we understand why it's meant to relax and meditate people, because it's actually calming them down, right?
Crazy.
So like, there's a lot of case points of this, that why we do traditional practices have scientific validity nowadays. So we're in this position, we're sitting upright, we know how the breath should expand. Now what I want you to do is breathe in on a count of 3. So through your nose, soft, silent inhalation. Not super big, but I want you to feel each part of those expand. On 3, 2, 1. Now stop here. We're going to do a parasympathetic sigh, which is just a short inhalation through the nose. And then when you breathe out, I want you to go Om. Om. 3, 2, 1. Go silent in your mind. Tell yourself that I love my life. Breathe in again. Breathe in, second inhalation. And then, Om. Close your eyes. Just get in there if you can. Okay, we're going to do it 3 more times, okay? 3 more times.
And the last part of that?
It's I love my life. It's
but like that, you mentioned the sound in your voice is up in your neck.
Yes. Yeah,
the last part.
Okay, so. Okay, I'm just going to stop us there for a second, just so we don't hum throughout this whole experience.
Wow, that is crazy. Will you do this in public?
You don't have to vocalize so hard, but you can still resonate inside. But like, how calm and at peace do you feel right now?
Bro,
that's probably it was super quick as well.
Wow, that's yo guys, really try this. Go back, just try it. It's maybe looks a bit weird or whatever. Definitely feels a bit weird, but when you get into that 3rd time, and especially if you're like alone, oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually the type of guy to do something like that. And when we say like try it, it holds more weight.
Whoa, and so I mean. So I've always looked at breath work like this. It's like, because I hear a lot of these guys talk about it, but I'm almost like I want the sexy thing, you know. What's the supplement stack and the thing that will increase my testosterone or whatever. And like you hear breath work and it's like but like it makes sense because it's like the life force that you are breathing in, and like I mean that just feels that's energy, bro. Like straight up, that's energy. Like wow, that's amazing.
Can you listen to like frequencies as well?
Absolutely. There's so many different levels that you could do to stack onto it. We do like psychosomatic visualization, like of breathing in air and allowing energy to vibrate through us. We can get into that later. It's something I'm not super versed in, but there's definitely metaphysical properties that we don't understand. Okay,
wow, that's crazy. How would you go about implementing this in your day to day? Is this like something you do when you wake up, or like when you feel like low energy or whatever?
I think doing it when you wake up is a great time.
Yeah.
Because what it's doing is you already have this massive cortisol spike, right? And a lot of like entrepreneurs have, let's say, cortisol dysregulation. They're constantly in hyperdrive mode, always sympathetic. So boom, we turn parasympathetic. Now, like you still feel energy though. There's like no lack of energy in this. You're actually probably more acute, more aware, more dialed in right now. You could carry that on for the rest of your day, right? So you go into work, you're in a calm state, your nervous system transmission is like operating in a very steady, efficient fashion. When I start feeling stress, I get like restless leg syndrome, I get ADHD, I have intrusive thoughts, I'm like, don't want to focus on this anymore. I go do this for 1 to 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, boom, I'm ready, back in, okay? Because then I can come back in here. What else can I do? At the end of my work shift, okay, I want to calm down. I want to spend time with my family, my friends, my significant other. I want to be able to digest my food properly, right? When you're like high cortisol all day, you're high adrenaline all day, you're high sympathetic all day, you're not going to get good gastric juices flowing. The stomach acid, the gastrin, all these enzymes, they're going to be lacking. Why does indigestion occur? Is because we're not equipped to digest the food because our nervous system hasn't allowed our body to transition into that parasympathetic state.
This is also such a competitive advantage nowadays, I feel like, because no one is doing it, especially no one. And as you mentioned or alluded to earlier, it's that hard work is like 25% of the equation, right? And then, but some people take to the extreme and then they don't get the other benefits of like coming up with all these great ideas where you can use AI to like automate stuff and do all of that work. So you also implement like a deep work session and then you kind of switch off. Like what's your kind of routine like?
How I get into my work mode is I've tried other techniques, but I also like think that sometimes if I'm really dialed, like it's a shame to like quit it at 45 minutes, right? It's a shame to like stop and do a movement break.
How long deep work do you do? Like, what's your deep work? Or like, how much work do you do during the day? Is it like 4 hours?
What do you consider work? People say like 18-hour days. Like, bro, you're going to the gym. It's like,
what do I consider work? I consider none of it work.
Oh, wow.
I fucking love all of it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I work hard. I mean, like, I'm in the beautiful place that I have a really strong support team with me too. Like the doctor that really helps a lot in different ways. My assistant is fucking top notch. And I do a lot to myself too, but it's like, I'm more like the first point of contact and making sure everything is systemized, operational, proceeding as it should. Then I just like either do blood panels, which I love doing because it's always a new opportunity to develop myself, educate myself. I always look at learning new things, whether that's peptide technology, whether it's new biohacking implements, podcasts. I'll be honest with you guys, like I am just like the communicative knowledge. I haven't created any of these techniques, right?
Well, I mean, this is what we all are, you know, like everything that I know, I've learned from greats before me that I'm just, you know, communicating with everybody else. That's what this podcast is for.
Yeah.
How do you go about like, I think Andre asked that previously, like when you move, like let's say like you got your deep work or whatever, or you finish with the work and like you want to sort of get into like a switch off mode.
Yeah.
That like 4 hours before you go to bed, maybe just before like your last meal or whatever, would you implement like this breathing technique, for example, to transition out of work? So you use that when you transition essentially in the beginning of the day and then also moving out, just with a different intention behind it maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the same intention.
All the same intention. Okay.
I
love my life.
I love my life. And the I love my life is a positive affirmation.
Yeah.
Shifts your perspective, gets you into a positive framework, right?
Yeah.
If you love your life, you can, like, I'm such a big believer of like psychology being an important part of everybody's day to day.
Yeah.
We do psychosomatic healing, which is like the influence of the brain on the body. We've had great results with that. So I love my life is part of that premise where it's like, it's not, listen, you can make fucking dollars and add zeros to your bank account, but if you're not happy and you're not fulfilled, like what's the point? What are you chasing? You'll always be chasing something. At least like you need to shift that perspective at some point. So, but yeah, I mean, do it after your work shift. Do it whenever the fuck you want. Do it in the morning, do it before lunch. Before lunch, after lunch, really good times. Anytime you have a meal, it's really good because boom, you're parasympathetic, you're digesting better, right? Also, before sleep, I think would be a really good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other things you could do. There's devices that will help you. You could stack binaural beats. You could do other meditation therapies, hemisync technologies. You could do like NeuroSim, Sensate, Apollo, vibrational devices.
Let's get into a couple of those things. First of all, I think I should I think a lot of people, we are in a time right now where I think, we sort of alluded to that now as well in the previous conversation, is we're in a time where a lot of like hard work and like this virtue signaling, or like, I'm working 14 hours a day, look, I'm better than you, or whatever. And I think that's very detrimental to health, but also just like the quality of your life in general, and I think long term it's not a good move. Like, I don't think anybody wants to, like, it's the entire, like, who's going to carry the boats? It's like, well, hopefully my AI software soon, or like, like I don't always want to carry the boats. I think taking time and focusing on your health is such an important part of your life. That's obviously what we do, what we teach at School of Athens. And I would love to know how you go about implementing, these sort of protocols with your clients. Sort of, you can give us a rough structural framework. It's obviously going to take you so long to explain the entire thing, but maybe from like step one to like the end, taking us through sort of your rough protocol. I know you work with doctors and blood panels and stuff like that. It's first of all, like, I've never heard of someone doing it like you're doing it right now. A lot of people, for example, like we said off camera, supplement just for the sake of supplementation, just taking stuff, the different protocols, like you hear this guy doing that or whatever. But I think it's important to supplement for the sake of deficiency and to know what you were deficient in. And I would love to know how you take your clients through that entire process.
I have some cool opinions on supplementation, so let's circle back on that. But let's say if I bring on a client, first of all, just understanding where they are and where they're trying to head. It's a very important metric, because we create customized, personalized protocols for people. Like, some people come with autoimmune conditions, some come with gut health problems, some come with like cognition or energy dysfunction. So it's trying to really map out their biology that helps us roadmap their solution, right? So we use a data-driven model. The very first point of objective data is the blood panel. It gives us we test like 100 markers, right? Like most other places, like, some really good opportunities are coming out, but I've seen so many of my clients come in with blood panels that test like 20, 30 markers. And it's like trying to like look at a map with like 60%, 70% of it off. And then it's like, okay, you should head in this direction, but there's not even a bridge towards that, right? Because there's something else blocking it, or there's this like cavern that you haven't even reflected on, right? So just build the greatest overall presentation of the person objectively. But that being said, it doesn't matter. You don't solve data, you solve humans. So you use that as a point of reference. You use that to validate some of your processes. But we do a very in-depth symptomology report with our clients. We go across all three pillars. We do the psychological. Psychological is not just like your emotional well-being, your traumas, but it's also your cognition. It's like how you want to perform, how you want to feel throughout the day, right? Your stress levels would be one thing that we always cater to. So then it's the physical. Are you in any pain, right? We do a full body assessment. We do what's called an anthropometric analysis of our clients as well, and then also a postural analysis of our clients, because a lot of people don't understand. It's like the way your body moves is based upon how your body is built, right? So for example, in our training programs, we only give our clients the exercises that they're most suited to, perform, right? And we can also tell you why your shoulders aren't growing, why your biceps are delayed so long. So we can really personalize the approach to get you the goals you want. But outside of that, there's also the postural impedances, right? Getting a little bit deeper. But this is how deep we like to go, and how people should deserve it, like postural impedances. So we just briefly touch on how rib cage mechanics works and how to calm your nervous system. But like, for example, my client Craig, he had GERD that no amount of supplementation would ever heal, right? And the problem with GERD is that it's not just like a stomach acidity problem. Do you know what GERD is?
No, please explain to us.
I forgot what the G stands for, but esophageal. I never say these words in real life. Reflux disease.
Okay,
GERD
okay.
is when it's acid reflux.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So he had acid reflux, and he's taking this supplement, and doing all these therapies. But what people don't understand is it's also a pressure dysregulation problem. Meaning that if you're in this compromised extended posture, which he very much was, what's happening is you're putting intra-abdominal forces on your organs in a way that might compromise their well-being and function, right? So all of a sudden, the stomach, instead of being this round balloon, is in this squished posture. That pressurizes the system, and that acid now has the opportunity to run up the spine, and the lower esophageal sphincter doesn't do a good job in holding it back. It gets fatigued, it wears away, it gets damaged.
Yeah, so in Afrikaans we call that soybrand.
Yeah,
Soybrand.
Soybrand.
Funny, I could say that better than I could say the other thing. I might start calling that to my clients.
So that is actually, so let's say, for example, so looking at myself, I think I'm in the same situation. Like, I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I want to optimize my health, get it to the best possible, just benchmark I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at doing some blood work now. I've stopped doing any of my supplements right now. Like, I want to first do my blood work and really see how it affects me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do my blood work. I don't even know what I need to test. I would love to know what you think about what I need to test. Maybe I even do it through you. We can have a conversation afterwards. And then I just want to get my testosterone as high as possible and focus, energy, all these type of things. What would be like the main thing you would tell me to optimize? Like, would you say do blood work, and then would you give me some like curated, I don't know, supplements or like a diet to fit to that, or how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so like the people that are in the higher tier of optimization, I mean, it should be a baseline function most people do. Is first chance you get your bloods tested, especially if you're nearing that 30 age mark. But I would also reinforce that age is completely getting altered from environmental and behavioral and physiological disturbances. I'll get back to that. So keep that on the parking lot. Yeah. But yeah, so you get the blood panel. It gives you this systemic overlook. Now you're problem solving. Right? Now you're trying to see the root cause. Is it a thyroid dysfunction? Is it inflammation, systemic inflammation? Is your immune system overstressed, or is there a certain type of viral bacterial infections that may be occurring? You look at your likelihood of quality protein digestion. Your sex hormones will definitely be part of it, but I know everyone's looking to optimize testosterone, and here's the thing that nobody's considering. It's like, okay, you want to optimize testosterone, you see your testosterone is low. The solution is not tongue diet elite. I mean, part of it should be, but the solution is, why is your testosterone low, right? Like, what's the root cause? It can't just be a supplemental protocol. It has to be a systemic protocol, right? It has to be a understanding, hey man, are you allowing yourself to get into a parasympathetic state? Is cortisol dysregulating the body? Do you have an active infection going on? Because all of these sex hormones, testosterone, for females, testosterone as well, but estrogen, and for males, estrogen too. I cannot say that both have such significant effects on the well-being of an individual, but these hormones are your expression of your optimal self-expression drivers, right? Like, that when like a man is feeling in his primal elements, you are like thinking that guy has a lot of testosterone. Like, that guy must be just peaking right now. Okay, well, if we're thinking about optimal expression, but then we look at and connecting it to high testosterone, low testosterone should be correlated to low expression of optimal self. So it's like, okay, forget the tongue elite. Don't even worry about your testosterone. Worry about what's going on with you. What is the root cause of the issue, right? Because I've done protocols for my clients where I haven't given them tongue elite, and I've seen their testosterone increase 200, 300 points, right? Or any testosterone boosting agents by that time, right? Yes, deficiencies are very important. So if you see certain blood markers, ALP is dysregulated, you think zinc, or you might think magnesium. Okay, you could supplement those things. They're necessary, especially in our current lifestyles. And that will help testosterone, but it's like, what is the ultimate journey you're trying to go on. Is it to have high testosterone, or is it to feel good, right? It's like we connotate. I know people that have like a low testosterone and feel amazing. Who am I to tell them that their testosterone is low? Or that it's causing them problems? If your sexual function is good, if your morning word is there for you every morning, if you're great in bed and you could go multiple rounds, then I don't care if your testosterone is 0.5, right? Like it beats the guy who was 36 and had sexual dysfunction, right? So it's like, what are we? Wait, and that was me, by the way. truth and point. It's like when my body was unhealthy, my sexual function was not expressing itself. I'm good at what I do because I've literally feel like I've experienced every health problem there is to experience. Like I have gut issues. I've had like brain fog to the point where I thought I had Alzheimer's. I swear to God, when I was 26, because I had my education was biomedical physiology, and in the fourth year I took Alzheimer's prevention and curative diseases course, right? So I was early presented to that. I was always kind of like, oh, this is interesting. This is fucking scary. I don't want to have this. At 26, I'm like, I have all the symptoms of Alzheimer's right now.
Holy shit.
I'm forgetting my keys everywhere. I don't remember people's faces. I don't remember their names. I don't know where my stuff is. I lose this way I'm communicating right now. Dude, I am so grateful for this right now. Like, yeah, man, like I couldn't do it before. I would lose my train of thought when I was communicating with my best friends. Like I would just start talking, and then I would be like, yeah, I want to tell them about this, and then I'd be like, wait, what did I want to tell them? Wow. And it would be the most awkward conversation. So I had that. I've had like depression, honestly. When I look back at it, I was depressed from the age of 21 to 28. It was probably health related. It was also, I've had I've had a very traumatic upbringing. There was like racism, violence, gangs, crime, I guess they're the same, drugs, religious oppression, war, poverty, so many sexual molestation. I fucking throw a dartboard, you probably hit something I've experienced, right? So, okay, fuck it was difficult going through all of this. 11 broken bones. I probably have a broken bone on every part of my like structure. Gut dysfunction. The point is like that is my service now. You know, that was all it was a course too. It was an educational opportunity that I built upon myself. I looked for expert guidance. It led me towards certain directions. I would hit roadblocks. I would pivot. I would look at a different roadmap. I'd take different opportunities. I would venture into like the depths of like different modalities of healing, whether it was acupuncture, whether it was peptides, whether it was psychosomatic healing, whether it was cognitive behavioral therapy, whether it was like Reiki healing. It's like I tried it all to like kind of figure out what's going on. And you kind of like, the truth is all of it works to a certain degree. All of it works.
Like, let's go, because I mean, it seems to me like you had a very traumatic, like just past life. Let's say, for example, you're in the midst of a situation like that. You could go back to your younger self. Like, what is one thing you would tell him that would be like, you know, like a main lever you can pull that will sort of improve most of his situation in general in that moment? Like, you obviously got on this journey of health and improvement and whatever because of, you know, these things that were happening. But yeah, what do you say is like one thing he can do in that moment that would maybe help him?
It depends if he's currently in the trauma or if he's actually suffering from the trauma still, right? In both cases, like the way I did a lot of healing was through, CBT and stuff helped. It applies a rational, logical framework and how to like process what happened to you and make it make sense. But
what is CBT? Cognitive
behavioral therapy.
Okay.
So it's pretty much NLP should be linked with that, which is neuro-linguistic programming. But so you're like, the way you speak about yourself, the way you are able to like be like, oh, how I feel is perfectly fine because of that. Okay, sure. But there's, you know, it's interesting the way our brain develops. It develops from the first thing we ever evolutionary was geared to communicate through was senses. So we learned temperature, we learned to sense light, like basic primal evolution status, right? And then from there, like layers and layers got added on, and eventually, like not primates, mammals started getting created, and then we started feeling emotions, right? There was like psychological interpretations of stimulus that drove an emotional response. So that's important, right? For me especially. And the first one is important too, actually. They're both linked. The last one is we built our analytical framework on how we should perceive and logic everything through it. So first of all, if he's in the trauma, if I'm in the trauma and I needed to talk to myself, I would say that everything in life happens for you and not to you. If you could just learn the lessons of what your experience is trying to give you, you'll be able to process, move from it faster. Like that's very important, because that's fuck me if I look back on all of those things that happened to me and was like, there was no point to it. There's absolutely a point to it, right? I think there's a purpose to every soul in this life, and it's like when we can shed all these constraints of who we were made out to be by environment, by ego, by our parents, by our community, by our friend network, when we could shed all those things away, we could actually be who we want to be, who we were meant to be, right? Like full ego and destruction or dissolution, and then all of a sudden your enlightened self comes out and can express itself. Like that's more and more every day, that's where I feel right now. That's why I don't give a fuck. You know, I will hum in front of 20 people. I will teach it on to somebody in a podcast, right? Because now I know like it helps people. And if you vibe with me, you're gonna do it. And if you don't vibe with me, you're not gonna do it. That's okay. But I'm honestly asking you, it's gonna help you, try it, right? You'll never know until you go. So yes, if I was in the experience, I would just be like, man, if it's hard to speak to yourself while you're doing that, but like, I know that it's everything. Even right now, you guys know I'm going through some shit right now. It's actually already growing, and already pushing me in the direction I'm supposed to be.
I can tell also on your sales page that you focus a lot with your clients as well on your why.
Yeah.
Like it's very holistic as well. Like how important do you feel like it is to get aware of what your why is in like this whole fitness journey and the psychological journey?
Your why is very, very important. I think that I could simplify everyone's why to the root cause. Honestly, it is just love. Like it's love. You want to love yourself.
Sounds like enlightenment.
Love, like light, love, connection with yourself, connection with others. To receive unconditional love from another human is like the highest aspiration I ever had. And it was my biggest failure, right? Because the only person that can give you unconditional love is yourself, right? So the moment we start loving ourselves, it doesn't actually, you asked me like, if I get parasympathetic, can I focus better, right? What do you think? Do you think after we did the breathing thing, you could probably work better?
Yo, let's just recircle back. Like, do that thing, bro. Like, I'm even like I said, I was a bit low energy. The breath was like, but like
shallow.
Yeah, like it's good. I just think posture plays a big role. But we can get back to that now. Let's continue with your conversation. Yeah.
Well, guess what? Like, if you love yourself, it's not gonna remove your drive or ambition. It's actually gonna drive you stronger. There's either pain drivers or there's love drivers. There's like fulfillment or despair. Like there's two dichotomy of direction you could go with. But I think that, when I'm looking at a client, what I want to do, like here, I love personal development. I don't give a fuck about like health so much. Like when I bring clients on board and they want a six pack, I'm like, okay, I'll give you that. But let me make you like the person you want to be. Like let me start working on you in ways that you're not even perceiving. Like if I could, like that's what I want to be. Okay. That's what I wish I had when I was 19 and 16 and 12 and 7, right? I love that. It's like I want to be like, I've went through so much shit. It circles back to that. I've went through so much shit. I wish I had a role model to help me like process my emotions, process my injuries, process my pain, my hurt, my lack of direction, right? So your why, everyone's why is unique, but your why, well, I would say everyone's why should probably be similar. Like you do everything out of love. If you want to, build like an infrastructure for education in third world countries, that's actually rooted in love. If you want to build like a multi 10-figure business and then bring technology to the world, it's something that you probably love to do. Hopefully, if you're not in that, then you might be lost in the process. Better example, I actually want to help people heal from their pain. Like that's my mission, because that's what I experienced. I experienced a lot of pain growing up, and it was always the most limiting. It was a low energetic state. It was limiting. It limited who I wanted to be, right? And like the more I healed, the more I processed it, the more I expressed it and moved it through me, the more I'm happy, the more I'm fulfilled, the more I feel safe, the more I can express my skill set, my knowledge. Can I just feed back to it? I just want one more thing. If anybody is in pain, the one thing, and it's from something from their past, then what you need to do is like, this is a CBT technique. Our brains live in emotions, right? So, they process emotions just as much as they process a logical framework, right? So what you experience as a child that got into an accident, right? Or the best example I always give is like you're a child, you're running in the playground, you fall down and you scrape your knee, okay? So what is supposed to happen at that point, right? You either get the guidance or you don't get the guidance. And if you don't get the guidance, your childish mind, which is open to creating its own belief systems, is going to rationalize that experience as something that causes them pain. And the only way they could avert that crisis from happening again is by never running again, right? That is what happens when a child is left by themselves to process their own emotions. They only have so many tools and understanding of their environment. They will create their own belief system. So part of like healing traumas and like overcoming these self-limiting mindsets is to reframe your belief systems. And what you could do is actually adult yourself. You could go to that inner child that experienced that trauma and be able to re-evaluate the experience in a way that allows them to actually process both emotionally, both logically, and also like somatically, like from the physical body, how it feels through that process, right? Because what you could do is like, hey, child, my child, rude child, hey, I know you just fell down. You first want to give them some comfort. I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you hurt? Like, I'm so sorry that you're going through this experience. You want to give them empathy, give them support. Actually, support is the next guy. It's like, okay, can I help you up? So it goes comfort, support, guidance. Can I help you up? Okay, come follow me. I'm gonna go take you to the medical office. Let's get you bandaged up, cleaned up. You're gonna be fine. And then you give them guidance. And you'd be like, okay, why did you fall down and scrape your knee? What happened to you, right? And they're gonna be like, oh, well, I was just looking up at the sky and I saw this butterfly and bird fly by me, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm on the ground, I'm bleeding. And you're like, well, of course that's gonna happen. You have to watch where you go to prevent yourself from tripping over something. Do you now understand that if you just focus your attention on where you need to go, that you could actually prevent this from happening again, right? The child's probably going to say yes. And now they've learned to actually process all of those things. Okay, what happens when you have an abusive mother, right? What happens when you get bullied in school, right? You get bullied in school, all you're presented is like these older adults that hate you. Okay, what's your belief system is going to be? It's like, I am a person worth self-hatred. If they hate me, then I am a person to be hated. Therefore, I will hate myself. Right? And that child is still living inside you because that belief system is part of how your nervous system got wired. So the only way you could go and remap it is by actually diving into the root cause of the experience and learning how to release and reprocess those energies, right? So yeah, if you're going through trauma, I know we got a little bit deep there. It's like, this is why therapy can actually unlock your performance. If you're an entrepreneur, bro, I work with entrepreneurs. I know they're like maybe not so good with girls, they're not so good at public speaking, or they don't want to, they have poor connections with their family or friends, and they're lonely. Like all of this is just Yeah.
Getting attacked by leaves.
Yeah.
One of my mentors actually said that doing therapy was one of the highest ROI activities in his business.
Oh,
He went
yeah.
from like 200K to 800K a month in 6 months by
Wow.
doing that.
Health goes so much deep. Like I'm loving this topic because it's like health goes so like entrepreneurs, but like a lot of people, it's like, why are you guys focusing so much on health? Like I can just do extra sales calls or whatever. Like that's just the example I'm giving because that's one that's been presenting to me the most. But it's like health goes so much deeper than just a physical like vessel that you are carrying or crafting, or even for that fact, like just the energy levels. You know, like when you have stuff like this trauma that you're not even maybe aware of consciously. How are you building a successful business on the back of that? You know, you're not even aware of the thing holding you back because a lot of people. I mean, and I think we all know this. Andre and I speak about this a lot. It's like becoming successful. You basically just need to have faith in God, but also faith in yourself that you can make it happen. You know, essentially just believing that you are the thing before you become it. And there's a lot. It's difficult for a lot of people. You know, and maybe part of that difficulty might be coming from trauma that you are not aware of. And so working through that can ultimately lead to you being more successful in the business, you know, or just life in general. Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I witnessed it unfold for myself. If you talk to me bro, if you talk to me like 3 weeks ago, I'm a much stronger person now. And if you talked to me 3 months ago, I was like a shell of a human. And then, let alone 2 years ago, I was like a walking skeleton, right? And then 4 years before that, I was like fucking like the blanket curtain, just like shifting in space. Like I was wallpaper like for most of my life. Why? But like, I mean, like we are having this conversation. You see my energy right now, and I stand before you a changed person because, you know what's cool? Actually, I did like this psychosomatic healing session with this therapist, and pretty much after that, my sleep went from like maybe 2.5 hours to 45. I always struggle with bad sleep.
Total sleep?
Yeah. No. Sorry, deep sleep.
Okay.
Like I'm a biohacking like guru. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a coach for my clients. I'm averaging 245, right? That's a little bit like I was always like.
I'm like self-aware of that almost.
I was very self-aware of it. I did that session. My sleep went up 1 hour of deep sleep.
What?
That's the only thing I could say. Well, it makes perfect sense though. This is actually running in your background constantly.
Subconscious brain.
Your subconscious brain actually like operates 80-95% of your processes on a day-to-day function, right? So yeah, if the back of my head is like, you're in pain. You haven't healed. You hate yourself. You hate yourself. Bro, like, that is like, what is that doing to my organs? Because my brain is controlling my organs, right? My brain is controlling my nervous system, right? So it's all wired in. That's why we do psychotherapy with our clients. Like, there's not a single person I've come across that doesn't need psychotherapy, and feel safe admitting that. I did so much of it. And you know what? I still need more. I still like whatever I'm operating right now, I still think it's like, my ceiling is still way ahead of me because I still have more psychotherapy to do. I have more healing to do, like physiological healing. My physical body could be performing at a better level. My metaphysical expression, my quantum self, my spiritual self needs development as well, right? So all these things need to be like considered. And it's like only when you don't consider or you don't give it permission or allowance, then you're actually just not giving yourself permission or allowance. You actually close your own doors. Right?
Do you know that rat and cheese study from Jordan Peterson, where essentially put a rat in a tube and he wafts the smell of cheese in the front? That's like the love you are mentioning, just like pursuing your goal. Then they measure the strength of that pull, right? And then they waft the smell of a rat. I don't know, a cat at the back. So it's like the love and then the pain. And the force is like, I don't know, 1.5 times stronger. Do you feel like, obviously that's a rat, but do you feel like what you're mentioning is that you just go after the love and you leave the pain? Do you think that, using that pain is also beneficial, like in any sense, in the short term or anything like that? Or is it just love and focusing on the goal?
The pain never goes away, bro. Like, it's always there. Like, there's some things that, like, let's say this. It's like, you could use pain as a driver for sure, but and it does, like, my mission is to help people out of pain, right? and it is a driver. So it is that cat smell behind me, right?
Mm.
But what if like the pain was also the cat's claw on my back, right? And that's not a driver. That's something that holds
so
me
like
back.
the too much is like the bad thing.
Yeah. So it's like when the pain holds you back, and it did. You know, I experienced it. It traps you, contains you. It's like you're in a closed box and you see no light. Like there was moments in my life I experienced that. I felt no hope. I felt like completely compromised as a human being, and I felt such low self-worth because I knew what I was capable of, and I was like, I'm not who I want to be. Like, I'm not expressing myself, I'm not achieving myself, I'm not good with girls, I'm not good at school, I'm not like good in business, I'm not good with my family. Like, what am I good at, right? Okay. well a lot of the things that happen unlock those like tethers, like unlock those chain links. Yeah, man, it's an interesting journey that I've been on. I think everyone has. See, the thing is that I could tell you about my stories, and maybe they're fucked up to you, right? And maybe you're like, oh, wow, like, why should I feel good or bad about my situation, right? Maybe I'm just a pussy. You know, maybe I deserve to feel this way, or you could rationalize yourself so many times away from facing the objective truth of what is holding you back. And the reality is no matter how much pain I've gone through, the emotional depth of what you experience is probably relative to what I experienced. People connect through emotion. So if I tell you what my experiences are, and I never told anybody my experiences. This is the crazy thing. I was 28 and nobody knew my life. Nobody knew my upbringing. My best friends didn't know the experiences I went through, right? And I didn't think it would be worth telling people. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I didn't want people to feel like, there was part of me that felt like people would think about me differently. But there was also part of me that I don't want people to feel like pity for me, right? And I didn't think they would understand. So there were so many reasons I just told myself that, bro, just keep it in, lock it up, move on. Nobody needs to know. Nobody can help. Nobody cares. And then what shocked me, the first time I expressed it to somebody else, and this guy, to be fair, had a good life, a much better life than me. And who was one of my like really, really good friends. We obviously, Bali took us apart, but when I went there. But what I realized is like, it didn't actually push him away from me. It actually brought him closer, right? And he didn't give me disgust or pity or, didn't push me away. He actually gave me empathy and comfort and care and guidance. And then he's like, man, I connect with you because, I didn't go through that experience, but man, it just reminds me of what I went through, and I felt that way before, right? So just understand whatever you feel is valid. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. And there's like so many layers of why that feeling gets created. And our responsibility to ourselves, to our inner child, to the experiences that we went through all the struggles that we face, is to actually come out the other side. Is to actually learn from the process, heal from the process, grow from the process, and become who we're meant to be from all of those obstacles, all of that resistance, all of that struggle shapes us, our identity, our character, our capacity in this world, right? So you owe it to yourself to do that. And if you don't, what's going to happen to you is you're not going to be fulfilled. Your body is going to express itself in malfunctional ways. You'll start quite probably expressing physical and physiological symptoms of your psychological problems. And you'll never be in a place to fully express the love that you always desire, because I think everything comes back to love. So back to entrepreneurial stuff.
But that is all entrepreneurial stuff.
That
like,
is, it's
it's all
100%.
encompassing. And the funny thing is, when you said that, when you talk to your friends, how you talk to yourself, you would have no friends.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if you could just, what did Jordan Peterson say? Like, take care of yourself like you're someone worth looking for, something like that. Like, treat yourself as your own best friend, because that's essentially who you are. Talk to yourself like you do your friends. But a lot of people have like this extremly negative self-talk, like constantly. If you had that with your friends, like, you'd probably, when a friend comes to you and is like, oh, business not doing as well, health, whatever, like relationship's not doing as well, you're like, okay, it's fine, like, where can we fix this? Like, what can we do? What steps can we take? But when it happens to you, you're like, oh no, I'm a piece of shit. To like, I suck. All of this.
Yeah.
If you can just switch that, it's like night and day difference.
Something that actually really helped me switch that is that we all have this inner critic in ourselves, right? And it's actually like, the way I kind of describe it is like, here's your identity. Like, this is your truest self-expression of who you are. And you have actually multiple different characters that are part of that identity, right? Like, I'm sure you guys have experienced when you hang out with a certain friend, you have like these specific traits that come out, and you're like, feel like you're a comedian, or you're like an athlete, or you're, like a very deep, emotional support system, like counselor, let's say, right? Well, your inner critic is just one of those expressions of self, right? And what your inner critic is actually doing is actually trying to protect you in a way that it only knows how, right? If it says you can't do this, it's because it's like, if you ever ask your inner critic, if you do this like visualization, it's like, why can't you do this? If you go deep enough to why can't you do this, I almost promise you, the way I've experienced it, is there's a root cause. One of the root cause is the lack of safety. The other root cause is it's actually not you speaking to yourself. It's somebody else that's speaking to you, that you've just brought on that belief system as yourself, right? So it's like, when you realize it's one of those two, you could either release the energy that you don't need to contain from that side of somebody else's belief of you, and you could heal that process too, because you brought that in. There's a reason you brought that in. And if you feel unsafe, then you can then actually pay it the proper respect of what it's trying to describe to you. Like, okay, you're starting a business and your mind is telling you, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. Well, it's probably telling you can't do it because all of a sudden, if you take this risk, there's might be the probability that you won't generate income, and then you have to do this and you have to do that, and you have to go back home and you move back into your parents. Okay, that inner critic is actually serving you at that point, right? If you just listen to what it's saying and take it objectively rather than emotionally. So I perceive what you're saying, I will consider its value in my overall scheme of how I'm gonna proceed, and then I'm gonna fucking tape your mouth shut. Because I don't need to hear that anymore, right? It doesn't serve me once you're served. I did this visualization technique on myself before I did it on my clients. And what is beautiful kind of like symbology of it is like, when I put the tape on its mouth, instead of speaking to me negatively, it just smiled at me. Right?
Is that all it can do, really?
No, because at the end of the day, it actually loves me. Like, that side of me is still a version of myself I want to love, and that I want to love me. That's just you talking to yourself, but you're just talking to yourself in a way that's you're built in that fashion. Everyone has a self-critic, right? There's no shame in having a self-critic. I probably have a self-critic right now telling me that I'm not talking about entrepreneurial stuff right now as much as I should, right? But like, I understand that, but I also think this is important. So I could take that, I could take the value at what it's worth. Yes, we talked a lot about psychology here, but maybe that's going to serve the right person. And then also, like, this is also, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So that's just one way I've kind of gone about like reorienting like what serves me and what doesn't serve me in a way that it just, honestly, everything is in one way or another has the potential to serve you. Like, I would also say traumas don't exist anymore once you come to realize what they were supposed to serve you for. And if you can rationalize the balance of it, and I do say this with like a certain level of like respect to anybody that's gone through like really inhumane, severe acts of justice. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that is permissible, but I've also heard some of those people like go on and build like institutions for like recovery for other victim patients, right? So it's like they've been able to actually expand themselves from that most of traumatic experiences. Now, that's a deep level, but everyone probably has some underlying CPU operating on this, because there's a chick in high school that told me I didn't have a strong jawline. I was 16, okay? It still fucking comes to my mind sometimes, man. Like, fuck all the
Bro,
other
the
shit I
same
went
thing,
through.
bro, same thing.
That's like that. I swear that comes into my mind a little bit more often.
Yeah.
But also, it's like repression, suppression, and shit like that.
Same thing, bro. I was 17, first girl I loved, like she said I had too much pimples, bro. Yeah, that fucked with me. Crazy.
I bet your skincare routine is on
Bro,
point, though.
I'm so optimized right now. Like that's how not really, that's not like the main thing, but that's how I sort of got into the gym first of all, was to sort of like, I wanted to look good, to impress this girl now, which just never worked because, yeah. But then I really dialed in my health and I started learning about gut health because I wanted to get rid of the acne now because like I hated that part of me. I couldn't stand it. And yeah, bro, that's literally sort of trickled into where I'm at right now. So seeing that as a way of serving me in that manner and reframing that is powerful. I agree with that.
Whenever we talk about framing, when was that podcast?
No, that was with, was that with Ethan?
Not quite sure, but we talked, framing is literally everything, like how you frame stuff, like, you know, probably in the sales calls as well, like how you frame the conversation. That's literally everything. Like that changes everything. I think that's super important. Like also you mentioned that, you know, things happen for you, not to you. That's just a different frame putting on.
I also think like to look at it a very monkey brain gym bro type of way. It's like if you go through something bad, it's like, am I gonna sit there and like just be sad about it? Like you need to try and reframe this in a positive manner, you know, because it's nothing good is gonna come from you giving into that emotion, experiencing or looking back at my younger self, experiencing, you know, some things that led to me being on the journey where I am right now. Like it's a certain moment when I was 13 that like changed everything for me, and I remember vividly I had to make a decision here, you know. It wasn't like a conscious decision, but it was more down the line of like, you know, am I gonna let this sort of motivate me to a point where I become better, or do I sort of give into this self-pity type of thing and the world owes me, and if I, you know, like pity, almost like I want that, because I think there's like, you feel good for a little bit, you know, when you give into that emotion and be like, oh yeah, the world owes me everything and I'm just going to sort of huddle, and then everyone feels like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that, and you sort of get some sort of like a dopamine effect from that. But long term, that doesn't serve you, bro. And like, I think it's important to make sure that the frame that you operate from is serving you. And I think a very big part of what you also spoke about is the paradigms and the beliefs. Like, I think you mentioned previously, is like, things that we might be holding on to, beliefs that's other people's beliefs that God put onto us that's not serving us. How would you go about identifying those beliefs, do you think? Like the unknown unknowns, you know? It's like maybe you're not even aware of the traumas that's holding you back.
Absolutely. Like it's sometimes you absolutely need guidance, right? The thing is like what therapy is a safe place for expression, right? And that's why like it takes a while for most therapists to really be able to come and connect with you, right? That's why we don't do our psychotherapy session unless after like usually bare minimum 10 days before we actually get on a call, because we want to build that trust. We want to build a relationship. We want them to kind of be like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. I feel I trust him. He's supporting me really well. Okay, let's sit down and have this exploration, right? So a safe place is good. And then the other thing is like, you don't know what you don't know, but I bet you somebody knows the answer, right? Like somebody has been through your experience. Like this is why we hire mentors. That's why we hire coaches. It's like we are outsourcing and delegating out this problem solving process for ourselves, right? So I could sit down with somebody and I'm like, oh, okay, well, they're telling me what they're feeling and what they experience. And I'm like, okay, I see the chain link pattern of events that could go and root cause here, but self-express here, right? It's like, there's logical frameworks. But beyond that, what we do when we do our psychotherapy sessions with our clients is we actually don't lead you, we let you lead yourself, right? So, you know, the mind always knows, the subconscious always knows. So if you put somebody in a very calm, relaxed state, you're actually getting them into theta. When you're in theta, your subconscious has a little bit more openness to interpretation and to what's the word? Development almost. So you can access to those things that are a little bit more usually hidden. So now I talk to you and I say like, describe to me how you feel. You're gonna be like, I feel like a locked box. Okay, and I ask you, okay, well, why is this box locked, right? Where did the lock come from? The lock, and then all of a sudden, boom, you see another vision coming in of like your child self putting the lock on the box. And you're like, why is he or she putting the lock on the box? And you're like, oh, it's to protect the box. And it's like, okay, can you ask it to open up the box? And then you kind of work through this process with them. And all of a sudden the box is open, you open the box, and all of a sudden there's your heart. And you realize, oh, I closed my heart after the breakup I had at 14 because I wasn't able to process it properly. And I thought I never wanted to go through that pain again. This happens to people, right? But it's like we kind of lead them on. And it's like, okay, to me, immediately I'm like, a locked box is a protective mechanism. What are they protecting inside? So I can ask you a leading question about like where we are going to build that trajectory. And then we obviously apply other CBT, NLP. It's like, oh, why do you hate yourself? Or is it that you hate yourself, or is it that you hate the experience you went through? Right. So
in the book, Why Have the Spirit of Man, David Data talks exactly about this.
You read it?
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. It's like a top 3.
Read it.
Read the book. And reality transipping as well. Anyway, so he says, chapter 1, live with an open heart even if it hurts. Don't let the fear of pain close you down. Your purpose is not to avoid pain, but to live fully, to give your deepest gifts even when it's hard.
Wow.
That's exactly what you're talking about at this stage. Like when you go through that breakup, you kind of lock your heart, but like a superior man opens up that box and still lives with the open heart.
Despite the possibility
Even if it's
of
hard.
being hurt. Like that's the thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, that connects with me in a big way right now. So yeah, it's the truth though too. Like if we're just talking about masculinity, it's like I've grown to understand the masculine has to make the right decision despite the pain it might cause to the people that they love, as long as it predisposes them into the right path that they're supposed to be on. And that pain, that decision has come with self-sacrifice, because you cannot, quite likely you're going to go experience the same amount of pain or worse pain, but what you're ultimately providing is the platform for somebody else to grow stronger into, right? Masculinity is it's a whole nother net and string and
Can do
ball.
part 2.
Yeah, we should do a second part.
Part 2 of psychology.
Let's
go.
I think
I just want to address something real quick where some of these entrepreneurs might think that, oh, this is all, where's like the tactical stuff and all that. But I just want to bring it back to the mentor that literally said where he did therapy and went from 200K a month to 800K a month, It'll leave all the numbers and all that, but he just made a significant jump in his business. And he says there's the highest ROI activity before, courses, anything like that. It's literally doing that. So it's the things people don't talk about.
Yeah. So what is one thing that you are focusing on right now, like a main thing that's current, maybe in your business, your life currently? Like I know you're going through a current situation right now, but what is one thing that you are focusing right now that you think, when you fix that or improve that, it will bring a big difference in your life, and how you go about doing that?
It's a good question. Let me just think it through.
Yeah.
My ultimate focus right now is actually business. Can I speak on that, or should I speak on health?
Please. No.
I mean, well, it might not serve the people so well, but like my focus right now is actually being more front of camera and being able to share some of the insights I've acquired over time.
Personal brand.
It's personal branding, yeah. It's the way of the future, but it's also like the greatest expression of self or service I could offer people, because I am a little bit behind closed gates for some people. So like content creation is an opportunity for me to actually provide direction, opportunity, a roadmap of how people to process it. I'm sorry if I just stuck way too deep into the psychology. There's also the physical, there's all the physiological, and there's some other ones, but we won't get in there. But please just understand that the whole body works as a system. There's 3 pillars that we will operate on. Psychology is one of them, but the physical and the physiological should be respected and paid proper attention to. I think a lot of people in the space that are in this health network might be over reliant on one, and then they might see that they're not getting the results or the outcomes that they're expecting. And that's because you haven't tried everything together. Like there's a lot of different things that work. Some work better than others. Some are right. Some are long term. Some are short term. Some are wrong. So just understanding how to, go through your process. I mean, like, what should I do? Can I offer them anything? Like,
yeah, of course.
I'll definitely do another podcast if there's interest.
Yeah, we're
from the
definitely gonna do
people.
it, bro. Yeah, 100%. Well, this is a good thing. Like, I think for like obviously God steered this conversation into the specific we're speaking about right now. But if you want to learn anything else of the other domains, like you need to definitely tell people where they can find you, where you can link your stuff, like your services, all that.
Working on.
Yeah, please.
I mean, right now, my Instagram, my content game, everything is bullshit. My Instagram is Ru.1M body coaching.
We'll link everything in the description. As
Yeah,
well.
so you can find me there. Follow me.
Yeah.
I'm open to conversations. If you have any like front of mind problems, I can at least send you some guidance through links, YouTube videos, anything that can support you that way. And then if any entrepreneurs want to optimize their well-being, we work with 6 to 9 figure entrepreneurs to completely delegate all of their tasks onto our hands. We take a very responsible, effective route to optimizing their well-being, depending on their wants, needs, and goals. And it's a fucking beautiful, beautiful life we've created because it's my passion turned into my purpose, turned into my business.
Amazing.
Awesome. Like for part 2.
Yeah.
Also,
Alright.
it's been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, bro. Bless.
Thank you.
That's
See you.
right. Wow. Amazing, dude. I love that.